Hi, Dylan. How you doing? I'm going to go ahead and take a look at your writing. Then we'll take a look at the ad and see where we need to be at this point. So, regarding your writing, this is a rough idea. The general idea of it, I need you to try to find images. It take me a while to figure out the layout of my projects. Once it clicks on my head, I'm able to run with an idea. I may stick with the style or change it in the future. That's kind of specifically what I'm after right there. We don't have time. I mean, it's really. I mean, the ad is due, and the reason we have a deadline for the magazine ad is because presumably the banner ad should be based very heavily on the banner on the magazine ad. So we want to finish the magazine ad while we've uh, before we really finish. I'm sorry, we want to finish the magazine ad before we really want to get started on the banner ad. In a perfect world, anyways. So it doesn't always work out like that. But at this point, I would say I'm a little concerned because of the fact that the magazine ad is really super underdeveloped at this point. So we really want to start taking a look at where we're at in the class. We really only have 3 weeks left. And so I would recommend that we get this magazine ad squared away quickly. Okay, the banner ad could present some problems, specifically if you've never animated type before. I'm not saying it's hard; it's not hard at all, but it could be somewhat time consuming. So in the perfect world, as I said, I'd like to see the magazine ad completely finished before we start the banner ad. Here is your um, okay. What do we have here? This is your oh, that's your links panel. Okay, and that's good. That shows that the image is masked. That's fantastic. Now, as far as the magazine itself goes, we have a couple of issues. All right, so the first thing I see is that this logo looks really completely different than the purple that it should be. Okay, and the reason for that is that this is presented in RGB and not CMYK. This is a print. This is a magazine ad intended for print. Therefore, it should be set in the CMYK color mode and not the RGB color mode. I'm sorry, excuse me, that's the CMYK color mode and not the RGB color mode. The background image itself is extremely problematic for a couple of reasons. It actually looks like you've made some alterations to the image itself, but it's hard to say. I'm not real sure. Is that the original water, or have you done some masking and adding here? It's difficult to say, but the problem I'm having is that the image is extremely damaged. Let me show you what I mean. We zoom in here. Just this is just so blurry. The foreground is almost unrecognizable. It's so blurry. And we come up here and we can see that part of the tree is it's not as blurry, but it's still not the greatest quality. So my main concern is the fact that this image just really starts to blur out right here to the point where it's really jarring. It creates an enormous amount of uncomfortable visual tension. As typically in selective focus, it's typically not the foreground that is going to be blurred, especially in a magazine ad, because it creates just too much visual distraction. Typically, if we use selective focus in a magazine ad, it would be an object would be in focus, and the background would be blurred, not the opposite, where the foreground is blurred and the object is more in focus. So plus, there's a huge problem with this image in that there's a big storm cloud rolling in, and that's something that we probably want to stay away from. So my recommendation, also I'm sorry, I just want to add one thing. The masked image isn't present in the ad, and that's required. Okay, so don't forget we need to add that masked image. So where are we and where do we need to be? My recommendation is to find a new background image, all right? My recommendation is to stick with the formula as presented in the examples in the announcements area, meaning headline, subhead, paragraph of body copy, all right over the image. And then logo, masked image, contact information. Okay, don't forget to set up your bleed. We've got in your bleed, you want to set up your bleed for the background. You want to extend that to 1/8 inch, and you want to make sure that the background image is extended to those bleed guides. Now we've got a few images here a few layers here that aren't applicable or appropriate to the required layers. Remember, we have an image layer, a logo layer, and a text layer. all elements should reside on those layers, okay? So as you can see, let me check your typeface. You're using Arial. That's good, excellent. And that should be Arial, regular, good. So don't forget, so headline, subhead, paragraph with body copy, logo, contact information, masked image. Make sure all images are very, very crisp, very clear, even when zoomed in. Don't forget to add your bleed. And I want to check one more thing here. Yes, you are in the RGB color mode. This is destined for print, so of course you should be in the CMYK color mode. All right, so those are my recommendations, and we want to make those changes quickly as we're moving into the banner ad portion of the campaign, which is somewhat time consuming in itself. So we definitely want to make the required changes to finalize the magazine ad. At this point, if you have any questions at all, or if you need help finalizing your work, Dylan, please let me know. Again, I just want to reiterate the importance of we really got to start moving here, though, because the magazine ad isn't done yet. We're in week 5. We're starting the banner ad, so I just want to keep on track here. All right, Dylan, if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Thank you, sir.